All right, we live.
Okay, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Brothers of Great Millstone Charlotte with a quick live lesson through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Shai. First and foremost, we want to start by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
And so, as you can see by the title, man, prophecy will never disappoint, right? We're watching things, intensify, and as brothers often go into that quote of, there are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen. Where regardless of our current state, we understand that prophecy is always going to push forward, right? There's no going back, right? Like the scriptures talk about how as an arrow was shot, right? There's nothing you can do to reverse prophecy as much as Esau, will wish itself, and that's why, we're in a state of, rejoicing because we
Mm-hmm.
understand that prophecy is always in our favor and it won't disappoint us, man. So
God,
uh,
if I can mention a point too, it's a couple words, or it's a word that goes into pretty much a arrow hitting the mark. And the thing about essentially, when an arrow is shot, pretty much it has an intended target. And the thing with prophecy, it's always going to hit its intended target.
exactly.
You want that word for disappoint?
Yeah, sure.
God. This is the word for disappoint in the etymon online, and it says disappoint, and it says it says reverse, and then it says opposite of, then it says appoint, and it says undo the appointment, remove from office.
Right. So like it says, undo the appointment. The Lord appointed these things to happen, right? You can't undo that, right? If you could get Isaiah 14, and I think it would be 25 or 26.
Can I read a little bit more?
God, God.
God says modern sense, to frustrate the expectations of or desires of, from late of persons of plans, defeat the realization or fulfillment of. It says perhaps via a secondary meaning of, fail to keep an appointment. He
God.
said,
You can finish it out. We're going to finish it out.
"Con, that was pretty much it."
Oh, you said, you read to frustrate the expectations.
Uh-huh.
God, God. Okay, all right, God.
Want me to
So,
reread it?
God, Baba, sure.
Con. This is the etymology of disappoint. It says modern sense of, to frustrate the expectations or desires of persons, of plans, defeat the realization or fulfillment of.
Right. So, like the scriptures tell us in Jeremiah 29, the Lord is giving us an expected end, man. And our expected end is attached to these prophecies taking place. So as we see things go further and further, right, as that snowball effect continues, we continue to grow in our joy because it's one step closer to us being out of here, man. Right? Though we're gonna have to face the trials and the persecutions, right? We're gonna have to be in the midst of Jacob's trouble. You know, prophecy is not gonna disappoint us, man. Right? We're gonna be what's the word? Satisfied with what takes place, man. Right?
Con, you said Isaiah 14 and what verse?
Um, 27.
Con, this is Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 27. And it says, for the Lord of hosts hath purposed, and who shall disannul it? And his hand is stretched out, and who shall turn it back?
Right. So who's gonna disannul, right? The word of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai.
Your connection going out a little bit, bro. I'm gonna read that definition again, though. This is the etymology for disappoint. And it says dispossess of appointed office. It says undo the appointment of, remove from office. It says frustrate the expectations or desires of persons, of plans, defeat the realization or fulfillment of. All right, and I got a precept real fast. This is Isaiah chapter 46 and verse I'm gonna get verse 10, because it said to pretty much to disappoint the pleasures. All right, it says, verse 9, it says, remember the former things of old, for I am the Most High, and there is none else. I am the Most High, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. Hey, so just like the title says, it says prophecy will never disappoint. You see, because prophecy is appointed. Pursuant to Habakkuk, the second chapter. I'm gonna get that, and I'm gonna come back to I'm gonna get another precept. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, and we'll get verse 3. We'll start at verse 1. It says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. You see, because essentially the men of the Lord have a job, and that's essentially to serve as a watchman, pursuant to Isaiah 62 and verse 6. All right, Second Esdras, the ninth chapter. All right, measure thou the time diligently in itself. All right, and how that's done is essentially the watchmen are standing upon that spiritual watchtower, all right, and seeing what's going on the battlefield, all right, and essentially warning the other believers and what should be done in these times. You see, all right, reading on, it says, verse 2, it says, and the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. All right, and that vision pursuant to the prophecies. And it says to make it plain. All right, and that word for plain is ba'ar. All right, and that word serves as a well, and it also serves as to make something plain and visible. You see, because when a well was being made, pretty much you would dig up everything up out of the ground. All right, and it will be pushed forth. Same as if you had a house, you got to put the dirt and everything under that dirt somewhere. So pretty much you're making it visible. You're putting it off to the side, and everything that was in that dirt is visible. Same thing with the prophecies, it's being made plain and clear, all right, via the Holy Spirit, all right, with the men of the Lord, being used, all right, to essentially tell the believers, what's going on, going down to verse 3, because it's a lot. Prophecy will never disappoint, all right. So it says, verse 3, Habakkuk 2 and 3 says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, all right, because it's not going to disappoint. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. And the vision is speaking. All right, and when something speaks, you can feel it. When you speak, you feel that in your body. All right, you see, but then those around you, they feel it as well. So essentially the vision is speaking. All right, because everybody is feeling the prophecies currently. People are feeling the effects of the famine. All right, people are feeling the effects of WW3. That's why we're seeing on social media, Jake, making little parody videos, which is, it's just for all for fun and jokes, you see, but people are feeling the effects. They understand that we're in the times of war because the prophecies are speaking. All right. So it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. It's not going to disappoint. It's not going to essentially be turned back like the arrow that we mentioned in the prior part of the video. I got one more, bro, if I can.
God, if I could make a point on that just real quick.
Uh-huh.
The scriptures speak in, definitive speech, man. There's no gray areas with the Lord, man. It's a yes or no, right? Like yea be yea or nay be nay. So when it says, something will surely come, right? That's a promise. The Lord is making promises, and that he's coming to make sure he keeps his promise, because he's a man of his word.
God, I got this real fast. This is Romans chapter 3 and verse 3. It says, for what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect? It says, the Most High forbid. Yeah, let the Most High be true, but every man a liar. As it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. And pretty much land back on your point. Just because a nigga feel like they living their best life in America, Babylon the Great, just because Esau feel as if hey, he at the peak of his his empire, just because they feel like that don't mean that the prophecy is going to turn back. I'm gonna get this too, just going into that point. This is Isaiah 55 and verse 10. You can break it down if you want to, bro. This Isaiah 55 and 10, it says, for as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. God, and pretty much I'm running back Isaiah 55:10. It says, for as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. So pretty much, the Lord essentially prophesied the end from the beginning, like we got in Isaiah the 46th chapter. So it's the word is going to be prosperous. It's not like it's going to be counted out. Just because someone feels as if they don't want it to come to pass. The Lord has already prophesied it. Again, the end was prophesied from the beginning, and we're seeing it continue to play out. So I'm gonna get another one. It says, Second Esdras, chapter 9, and we'll get verse 1. And it says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. You break down, bro.
Right. So we're watching these things come to pass, right? And we're measuring them up to the prophecies that are written in the books. Right? That measuring stick that we see or that we're using to understand the how close we are to being, redeemed out of here, man. You know?
Mm-hmm. Continuing on, it says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people and the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning.
Right. So he declared these things from the beginning, man. Right. He set this story in place, right, at the very beginning, and it's all playing out according to his will, man. Right. So with us
God, like bro was saying, pretty much with this understanding, scriptures say that pretty much, a sword is sharpened. It is also furbished. Should we then make mirth, because ultimately 2/3, they're going to be in the mindset of partying and bullshitting, just like in the days of Noah. You see, but it behooves us to take heed to the message and the prophecies written in the scriptures. You see, but finishing out, Second Esdras 9 and verse 5, it says, "For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest." All right, that word for manifest goes into being obvious. The end is obvious, because we're seeing all of the prophecies come to pass. It says, verse 6, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings, and wonder and powerful works, and endings and effects and signs. All right, and so the Lord speaks through signs. All right, which the scriptures go into that. The Lord gives different signs. I.e., in the moon, or in the stars and the sun and stuff like that. Before something takes place on Earth, we'll see it in the heavens. All right, in which those signs correspond with prophecy.
that's it.
Did you want me to get scripture, bro?
Con, could you get so like it say um Sirach 16 and 13?
Mm-hmm. This is Bon Sirach, chapter 16. We'll get verse 13, and it says, "The sinner shall not escape with his spoils, and the patience of the godly shall not be frustrated."
Right. So the patience that we're waiting on the Lord to execute, his vengeance, right? He's not gonna frustrate that, right? He's not gonna disappoint us, right? He's gonna give us everything that we ask for, you know, and that's starting with the salvation out of this wicked kingdom, man, right? And then the establishment of a kingdom of righteousness, man, right? So, as it said, the sinner shall not escape with his spoils, right? Everything these people work towards, right? They're about to be disappointed, right? I was listening to a brother this morning. He was telling that what's good news for us is bad news for the rest of the world, man. You know, or it was perceived to be as bad news because it is destroying this current system and establishing a system of righteousness, man. But like it's finishing out, it says the patience of the godly shall not be frustrated. So we're waiting on these things to come to pass, right? And it's going to accomplish the promises that they forth, man.
God, did you want me to grab something else?
Hebrews 10 and 23. And we'll read it in the NLT as well.
God, you want me to read in KJV first or just get in the NLT?
Okay. KJV first.
Okay. This is Hebrews, Ibaria, chapter 10 and verse 23. And it says, let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised. Keep going.
Put that again.
God. It says, and let us consider one another.
Crazy.
Keep going in the Hebrews 10. I'm going to run it back. This is Hebrews 10 and 23. It says, let us hold fast the profession of our faith. Keep going in the Hebrews 10.
Can you hear me out?
It's kind of like it's giving like an echo back.
Goodness gracious.
I'm going to run it back, though. This is Hebrews 10 and verse 23. It says,
keep kicking me out the thing.
Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised. And which y'all get this in the NLT, it says, let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we affirm, for the Most High can be trusted to keep his promise. In which it's somewhere in the scriptures, but it talks about how the Lord essentially held his word above his name, you know, so the Lord is going to come through on his promises, you know. So pretty much going into the title, you know, prophecy will never disappoint. All right, scriptures say that, you know, essentially, all right, Esau, Edom, all right, was reserved for the day of evil. All right, we understand that, you know, Esau, Edom is his hegemony is going to be destroyed. All right, those that essentially aren't destroyed by the nukes, they'll be rounded up for slavery. All right, scriptures say that, you know, Jake, all right, the elect of the nation of Ya'iqua, the elect of the nation of Yasha'Allah, essentially will be saved. Hey, that's going to take place. You know, the Lord is a man. The Lord is a man of his word, you know. We get a couple more and go ahead and close. This is we'll go back to Isaiah chapter 46, and we'll get verse 9. And it says, remember the former things of old, for I am the Most High, and there is none else. I am the Most High, and there is none like me. Declaring the end from the beginning, in which, you know, pretty much prophecy goes into say before. All right. And it says, and from the ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, because again, the end was prophesied from the beginning, you know. It says, and from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure, you know. So essentially, you know, the Lord, this is the Lord's movie. That's why it's called the scriptures, because it's a script. You know, the Lord is essentially moving everyone like puzzle pieces or like chess pieces. All right. So it says, and I will do all my pleasure. Calling a ravenous bird from the east, the man that executeth my counsel from a far country. Yeah, I have spoken it. I will also bring it to pass. I have purposed it. I will also do it. You know, so just like, you know, I'm gonna get this too. This is Second Esdras. Let me get this real fast. Second Esdras chapter 16. And we'll get the Second Esdras chapter 16. And we'll get verse 3. It says, a sword is sent upon you, and who may turn it back? A fire is sent among you, and who may quench it? Plagues are sent unto you, and what is he that may drive them away? It says, it says, may any man drive away a hungry lion in the wood. In which I'm gonna start from verse 3 again, because I'm gonna get this too. It's a lot. I'm all over the place. This is Hosea chapter 12, and we'll get verse 10. And it says, I have also spoken by the prophets. I have multiplied visions and used similitudes by the ministry of the prophets. Now I want to get this word for similitudes. All right. And it says dama. It says to be like, resemble, to be like, resemble, to liken, to compare, to imagine, to think. All right, to make oneself like. Reason why I want to get that precept is because it's being a picture made. All right, the Lord is the creator. You see, so the Lord is the ultimate artist, the ultimate artiste. All right, so going back, Second Ezra chapter 16 verse 3, because it's a picture being made, it's a similitude being made. It says a sword is sent upon you, and who may turn it back? Because so if a swordsman, wanted to intended to hit a specific target, it's upon that swordsman to ultimately draw the sword away or to continue with that strike, with that slash, But only thing about this is, the Lord has prophesied something, and he's not going to turn it back. It says a sword is sent upon you, and who may turn it back? A fire is set among you, and who may quench it? So it ain't gonna be no fireman to put out this fire. Verse 5, it says, plagues are sent unto you, and what is he that may drive them away? May any man drive away an hungry lion in the wood? If a lion is hungry, ultimately he's gonna devour the prey. It says, or may anyone quench the fire in stubble when it hath begun to burn. May one turn again the arrow that is shot of a strong archer. Now somebody can't shoot, what I'm saying? Somebody can't take a crossbow or a longbow, shoot that arrow, all right, and then run and then try to, pull that arrow back. No, like if it's shot, it's gonna go to the target. All right. And the thing about this the scriptures is, all right, the word is already sent out, you see, so it's not gonna be turned back. All right. Pretty much going into the title again. It says prophecy will never disappoint. All right. And so I'm gonna keep reading. It says we're at verse 7. It says, may one turn again the arrow that is shot of a strong archer. It says the mighty Lord sendeth the plagues, in which the answer to verse 7 is no. It says the mighty Lord sendeth the plagues. It says the mighty Lord sendeth the plagues, and who is he that can drive them away? All right, nobody can turn back, what was already prophesied. Nobody can take away, the plagues that was sent. It was what was dude's name? Klaus Schwab. He was talking about what they call polycrises. You see, but the polycrises is nothing more than just the plagues of the Lord. In which those plagues is not going to turn back, to where they were sent. Because the Lord, His word doesn't return unto Him void. So, did you had a precept, bro? You want me to get a precept?
Kind of. No, you go ahead and keep reading down on that. And so I can the whole internet right
now. Continuing on, it says, he shall cast lightnings. Verse 9, Salah. It says, a fire shall go forth from his wrath, and who is he that may quench it? He shall cast lightnings, and who shall not fear? He shall thunder, and who shall not be afraid? It says, the Lord shall threaten, and who shall not be utterly beaten to powder at his presence? The earth quaketh, and the foundations thereof, the sea ariseth up with waves from the deep, and the waves of it are troubled, and the fishes thereof also before the Lord and before the glory of his power. All right. And which, that the Lord is magnificent. You said what, bro?
No, so you got
the Lord is magnificent in his power. I'm gonna actually I'm gonna get a quick precept, and I'm gonna go back to that. This is Psalms chapter 29. Just going into the majesty of the Lord. All right. This is Psalms 29 and verse 1. It says, give unto the Lord, O ye mighty, give unto the Lord glory and strength. Give unto the Lord the glory due unto his name. Worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. All right, verse 3, it says, the voice of the Lord is upon the waters, the Most High of glory thundereth, the Lord is upon many waters. All right, pretty much again going into the majesty and the magnificence of the Lord. It says, the voice of the Lord is powerful, the voice of the Lord is full of majesty. The Lord breaketh the cedars, in which when you talk about cedars, it's a very strong tree. All right, it's very strong. So it says, the voice of the Lord breaketh the cedars, yet the Lord breaketh the cedars of Lebanon. All right, and pretty much just reading into this chapter, it just goes into the magnificence of the Lord. So precepting that with Second Ezra 16 and verse 12, it says, the earth quaketh, and the foundations thereof, the sea ariseth up with the waves from the deep, and the waves of it are troubled, and the fishes thereof also. So the Lord is in complete control, you know. So it says, before the Lord and before the glory of his power, it says, for strong is the right hand that bendeth the bow, his arrows that he shooteth are sharp and shall not miss. Prophecy ain't gonna disappoint. It says, for strong is the right hand that bendeth the bow, his arrows that he shooteth are sharp and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. And that's talking about the ICBM nukes. You know, ultimately, it ain't like they gonna come out the silos and it's like, all right, you know, they gonna return back now. Like they gonna be used pursuant to Ezekiel the 21st chapter. You know, the scriptures go into how, you know, a sword is sharpened and it's also furbished. You know, essentially, it's being made sharp and it's being made ready and prepared. You see, again, ultimately talking about those nukes. You see, but then each specific prophecy is going to hit its intended target right in the center. You know,
You can read down to 17.
Con. This is Second Ezra chapter 16 and verse 14. It says, "Behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth."
Right. So like you said, right, they're not gonna they're gonna hit their marks, man. Right. Everything is gonna meet its full sufficiency, as the will of the Lord is set forth. Right.
Mhm. Verse 15, it says, "The fire is kindled and shall not be put out till it consume the foundation of the earth,
Hmm.
like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer." And it keeps, you know, we got that word for similitude. It keeps talking about that arrow of the mighty archer because it paints a picture. You know, when a if you was to shoot so a projectile type of weapon, you know, it shoots. It has a effective range of whatever effective range that it has. But thing is, the Lord has set the effective range. All right, and it's going to be effective. It's not going to be like, all right, if you know, a 9 millimeter was to shoot out and it has an effective range of, you know, such and such. It's not going to be like a 5.56 round, you know, shoots out and it has an effective range of 500 meters. It's not going to be like an artillery round. All right, these rounds have whatever effective range the Lord has set upon it. All right, and again, it's going to hit. That's why that similitude is being made to that strong archer. All right, strong archer, expert archer is going to hit his target. You know. So continuing on, verse 16, it says, like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer returneth not backward, even so the plagues that shall be sent upon earth shall not return again. It says, I'm going to read it again. It says, like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer returneth not backward, even so the plagues that shall be sent upon earth shall not return again. Hey, again, it's reiterating it, you see, because repetition is key, you see. So ultimately it's being repeated because these things are going to happen, you know. It was written that essentially Jake will go down in each kingdom that Jake was ruling, and that's what happened, you know. Just like it's written that, you know, Esau Edom is going to go down, and that's what we're seeing starting to take place. All right, so it says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days, in which, you know, Esdras knew he would be here in these times, you know, that we're in right now. And it says, who will deliver me in those days, you see, because there's going to be a lot of things taking place upon earth in which, you know, the righteous is going to be scarcely saved, you know, because the righteous is still going to have to go through some of those said straits, you know. But only thing with the righteous is going to be delivered, you know.
Exactly. Real quick, this Proverbs 13:12, it reads, "Hope deferred maketh the heart sick." Right. So that's why Ezra is in that woe is me, right? Because he knew he was going. be in the midst of that. He knew he was going to be going through that, man. Right? But like it says here, but when the desire cometh, it is a tree of life. Right? So that
Hmm.
deliverance, right, from these coming perils is a tree of life. It's something that, we can look forward to, right? Something we take joy in, understanding that regardless of what we face on this in this present world, right, the Lord is always has a way out for us, man. Right? And this has to take place in order for us to get out of this, man. So it's that light in the darkness, right? Like me and the priest Amawan had gone into earlier this week, right? The Lord giving us that light, to walk through whatever we face, man. And just going back to how the Lord won't disappoint, right? All these things are gonna happen in the order that He's set forth for them to happen, and it ends with the the redemption of His chosen people, man. You Negro, Latino, Native Americans, Hispanics, right? You Israelites getting redeemed, you believers out of the elect, you know.
Yes, sir.
But that was pretty much it.
Conway, I don't want to Zaza Banaya Pa, Lord's will. That was a beautiful edification through the spirit. While I don't want to Zaza Adam Yashi Awam Tawab, Lord's will. You all have a good day. While we can go ahead and close it up by saying, Call Layim La, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rocha, Wadashwa, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us the truth and rule well. And much respect to you, bros, that they're pushing the truth with all righteousness and sincere. Shalom, 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 lakam, which is peace to you all. Shalom.
So